think about Omni ID's innovative pursuits, what have been the driving force behind overcoming challenges along the way?
Uh, so Omni ID started out as a RFID tagging company. We were always very interested in solving some of the problems that manufacturing is facing. We've seen them routing materials and boxes, goods, work in progress through the factory floor, having a great deal of trouble. We really wanted to take a shot at solving that problem. We began with RFID and explored a bunch of new technologies.
And Thomas Edison believed that innovation begins with a concept that is marketable and makes consumers' lives better. How did your organization go from an idea to a market-ready solution?
Right. So we started out, as I said, trying to apply the RFID technologies available today to those problems of moving boxes and goods around the factory floor. Remarkably, we found that people, even with RFID technology, were still routing things around with pieces of paper, barcoding and whatnot. Literally millions of containers flowing across the factory floor with paper labels on them. We thought that was crazy. And so they needed the ability for RFID to track these things, and that was working well there. But there was no way to actually tell the worker on the floor how to actually update those instructions, how to actually move those containers across the floor. What we did was combine the best of two ideas, paper labeling and RFID, and came up with a ProView visual labeling product for manufacturing.
Okay. Looking back, would you have changed anything along the way, how you did things?
Well, like I said, it's been a process of evolution right from the start. So, we invested a fair amount of time in building the initial generation of tracking technologies. What we did was actually create change in our very own product and adapting to the needs of the businesses. We literally saw the fact that while they could track these containers easily in factories, they couldn't do anything about the backups and the congestion that they saw. We found people putting pieces of paper over the RFID tags to relabel them, which was crazy. So we changed course and built in the essentially e-paper visual display technology you're familiar with from your iBook readers or e-book readers. We built those right into our tags, and now you can track and update the instructions for the workers. So that's how we adapted to change there.
What is the most important lesson you've learned from pursuing new frontiers?
Persistence. So never to stop. I mean, it would have been, in fact, a number of companies had just kept trying to deliver RFID technologies to factories and hope that eventually it might work if they bring the cost down. But we kept going back, really trying to listen to what the people were telling us about what was working and what wasn't, until we finally got the right combination. Today, this product's being used in 6 very large automotive manufacturers, a number of white good manufacturers. So we're pretty excited about how the persistence has paid off.
What is the vision for Omni ID in the future, and can you share anything that you're working on right now?
Sure. So in our ProView visual tagging system for factories, we want to take that further and further. So we already have quite a pretty interesting product, we believe, but we would like to make it smaller and thinner, easier to use, easier to put on even the very lowest cost and smallest bins and boxes. Really, what we want to do is make e-labels about as simple and to use as normal paper labels, and just as cost effective as well.
Who has inspired you to help build the future, and what have you learned from them?
There's been a great number of entrepreneurs in the United States, any number of which are really inspiring. The one that I typically go to most often is Steve Jobs, like so many others. Steve, for me, the most important characteristic there was his relentless pursuit of perfection, to meet the customer's need without compromise. In our business, what we wanted to do was to really completely solve that material flow problem in factories. To me, it seems like the #1 problem facing all factories across the United States. Steve's focus on really building not just a great product, but an entire solution is one that I would like to emulate with an Omni ID.
And finally, the Edison Awards recognizes the most innovative products, services, and teams from around the world and across all markets. What does winning an Edison Award mean to you and to Omni ID?
I think that would be a really important award for us. #1, it validates that our technology deserves to sit in the company of a number of really important innovations that I've seen here and others that have been honored in the previous years. We work very hard to sell our technologies to Fortune 500 companies, global companies around the world. And they need to know that not only are they getting a good idea, but an idea that has been tested, that's reliable, and easily deployed. And an Edison Award is one point of credibility, if you will, one stamp of approval that will certainly help us build our case for our customers.